What's up, everyone? Jake Berlin here with Apocalypse Movies, and I am finally joined by Brian Avolicino here to review War for Planet of the Apes, the third entry into the trilogy for the modern-day Planet of the Apes franchise. Yes, we got these really cool posters. We just got out of the movie about probably 10-15 minutes ago, jumped on a review right away, so we are very fresh. To start, this movie came off an incredibly good predecessor in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It had an amazing hype around this film. Obviously, Caesar and his story. So let's just jump right into it because I think we both just want to talk about this. Obviously, I have this shirt on. I want to rock it. So we go into this movie. We're super pumped. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes kind of set the franchise on an all-time high. And we want to know what happens next. Like, we knew that the military had come forward towards the end of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now we know it's going to be all-out war. And I would say for the most part, this movie pretty much, it succeeds at that part of the story. And for the war aspect, the action aspect, I personally really enjoyed it. There's obviously some things I didn't like with each movie, and we're going to get into that. But as far as just an initial thought, this franchise, if it's a standalone trilogy, no matter if they go on to next movies, but as far as a standalone trilogy, these three movies, it finished on a very strong note. And there are some specific reasons. So Brian, fresh on this, you had just watched the first two movies here recently, actually.
About 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so very recently. What did you think of War for Planet of the Apes?
I thought it was awesome. Started super strong. A lot better than I thought it would to start out strong. It kind of hit you right in the beginning, just kept you on your toes the whole entire time.
Very intense.
Yeah, big time. Caesar, what more can you say about Caesar? I mean, he rocks it the whole entire movie.
He's the guy, yeah.
He's the guy. Just all you just want to do is just see him just go out throughout this whole entire movie and just absolutely just run things.
Oh, and I think it delivered on that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it delivered on
absolutely.
that. So, let's get into some specific plots. And before we do, just so you guys know, this is a full spoilers review. I don't think either of us want to talk about this movie without talking about everything that goes on. So if you have not seen it, bookmark us, come back. If you don't care about spoilers, go ahead and continue on. I don't know why you would not care about spoilers. But with that said, some main positives. I think one thing that we can definitely start off on is Caesar himself.
Absolutely.
And I think, obviously, this is Caesar's trilogy, Caesar's story. He's been the main point going forward for all these three movies, and again, the focus on him is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Andy Serkis, who plays him motion capture wise, he's just phenomenal. I think he does such a great job with the character playing an ape who is intelligent and communicating with these humans and also his ape community, but the story arc they gave him, not just through this movie, but through the entire movies, how it just kind of all balances each other, is so strong. And I love the way it finishes. We'll get into that at some point, but I thought he was definitely, as he was for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the highlight of this movie.
Oh yeah, easily. He carried the movie. He pretty much stole every scene, in almost every scene.
Yeah, it's his movie.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's closing the chapter about him. I personally enjoyed that he talked a lot more.
Yeah, well, I think that's due to just the years gap since Dawn. He's just growing as a character.
Yeah, it just kind of gave him a little bit more personality. I enjoyed hearing his voice. It's just so menacing
yeah.
In a way, but it's so powerful that you want to fight with him no matter what he's saying.
Well, in a way, it's almost calming.
It is.
It's very calming for how deep and kind of sour Andy Serkis' voice as the character is. But yeah, and it also works because his community of apes, they all communicate through sign language. He's really the only one that knows how to talk in his society of apes that he has. Outside apes, obviously, some of them know how to talk. Yeah. Maurice, here a little bit here and there.
You get words.
Definitely towards the end.
Yeah.
But I think that helps just because he's kind of like this, and they actually played into it towards the end of the movie, but he's like this Jesus figure.
Oh yeah.
And they definitely did that scene towards in the middle of the movie where they put him up on the wood flanks. But as far as other positives go, anything else that really stood out to you for War for Planet of the Apes?
I thought the girl that ended up being Nova was super strong. She didn't say a single word.
Yeah.
And the whole entire time, single time I saw her, I was just like, what is she gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, almost, even though you knew she wasn't gonna speak, like, I almost felt like every single time she just acted, she was speaking through her actions. I enjoyed her, and especially her relationship with Maurice.
Yeah, no, and it kind of plays off what's going on in the past, few movies. The first movie we had Caesar and James Franco's character. The second movie you had Caesar and Jason Clarke's character.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this one is about the Caesar-Woody Harrelson relationship, but they gave Nova that human factor that these apes have always had, at least Caesar, and being a little girl and obviously having ties to the original franchise. For those of you who don't know or haven't seen it, she's actually the mute woman in the original Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston that he meets in the movie. So a cool little tie there for what's going to happen, in the next couple of years or decades or however long it is. But I agree. I think she was really cool, really strong character, especially after how it kind of started. Yeah. It was for her to be brought into that group of 4 apes that found her. It was very odd in a way.
Abrupt.
Yeah, and
just like boom, here she is.
Yeah, and it did work out, and she actually played a much bigger role than I was expecting her to.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was just kind of gonna be a nice cameo tease for what people knew in the past.
Yeah.
But she actually played a pretty big role, specifically that role inside the military camp with Caesar.
Oh yeah.
And how she kind of helped him and the other apes, and although I don't know really how she got past the gate of that military camp.
That was a little wonky for me. The fact that there's just people walking around the whole entire time.
Well, and they're an army, and they let this, 11-year-old girl just walk through the gates.
And she's chilling there. She's walking back and forth. I'm like, wait a minute. No one's noticing this girl?
Well, and that specific scene actually had a huge impact on the finale of the film, which we'll talk about. But some other positives for me, one of them is that this film was ape-centric. This film was, it had the human factor, but it was revolved around the apes, the society, what was going on with them. Woody Harrelson's character plays a big part, and his army plays a good part, but it is really all about this ape, Caesar and his apes. And I really, really appreciate that from Matt Reeves. It's kind of been teased here and there through the past couple movies. But the humans have played a really large role, specifically in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and I'm very happy to see Matt Reeves kind of step into the world, just be like, look, we're giving this to the apes. It's their time to shine, especially because it is called Planet of the Apes, really. So, and then a last one for me, and it's something that a lot of people might not think about, but for me, it really killed it, was the score of the film.
I thought that too.
The score was really, really good. It was subtle, but it really just kind of got you engaged and it brought you into the film. There wasn't really any specific track that stood out, but it all just kind of flowed.
It did.
And it worked for every scene.
It was almost like a sense of calming, but even in the dramatic parts, it wasn't very loud and boisterous.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this kind of calm dramaticness. But that's why it's funny that you picked up on that. I was kind of thinking.
Well, it also helps, or it doesn't help, but it plays off of. These films could be so massive if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
We saw what Tim Burton did with the Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg and how big they tried to go with that movie. They quote unquote dumbed these movies down and they made them a character study.
Yeah.
And the scores kind of played off that because they weren't like you said, loud, boisterous, really in your face. They were just there.
Yeah, it kind of just gave into the background, almost like it blended in with the background of it and gave just kind of the surrounding just a little bit extra.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, any more positives you got before we move on to some negatives?
I actually liked the virus aspect of it.
That's right, the simian flu.
Yeah, it kind of gave it its own story on top of it too. There's these dangerous apes, even though they don't want to fight. The apes are dangerous if they need be, but there's also something else that's out there that they don't have control over.
It's almost like and for those of you who are on The Walking Dead, that's like a Walking Dead factor.
I thought that same thing.
So, if you've seen the movie, we're talking about the simian flu, which was the virus that kicked off the apes being super intelligent from the get-go. It's basically inside every human left on Earth, and at some point in time, it's going to overtake them, and they're going to become not just mute like Nova, but they're going to become basically apes in a way.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool factor as well. It kind of played into the past movies, which is really cool. And I definitely was not expecting that, which was awesome.
Yeah, I know. Whenever they kind of like showed him mute, it almost, to me, the very first thing I thought of was, oh, he's gonna turn into a walker. Like just the way they kind of like sounded, and almost they turned into like this like shell of themselves.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like grabbed you and was just like, oh crap! Like there's something way stronger than these apes if they attack.
Very much Walking Dead like.
Oh, very much.
Yeah. So of course, not every film is perfect though. This one is pretty damn close to it. There's obviously some things we want to talk about though. For me, I think, I guess for both of us, the biggest thing we can talk about is neither of us really like the Woody Harrelson character.
Mm-mm.
And the Colonel, who was the one going up against Caesar, Andy Serkis' Caesar, he played probably the second biggest role in this film, but I think he just wasn't there all the way. He wasn't as menacing as I was hoped. He played a big part, and he did some bad things in the movie, but it just wasn't. It didn't come off as bad as I think they wanted it to.
It was just kind of him almost. I mean, I felt like I could have dealt with the character. Like the character was really good, but like he underwhelmed in my opinion. Like I'm expecting this like violent, ruthless colonel, and he just kind of was there.
Well, and if you call him the Colonel, you kind of expect something. If he doesn't have an actual name.
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
he shaves his head in front of all his army, and doesn't wear a shirt in freezing cold snow. Like, you expect something.
Yeah, I just wasn't really buying him being like this strong military man that's like leading these people towards war, and he was just kind of like, all right, like I'm in charge of this place. So it's like.
Yeah, well, I think another one that we can also talk about is the character of Bad Ape, and played by Steve Zahn. For one, it didn't bother me as much as I think it maybe bothered you. Like, I didn't mind it, but there were moments I was like, okay, maybe a little too much there, or just a second too long. What was it about Bad Ape that maybe kind of took you out of the film?
For me, I felt like he was that forced humor they tried to throw in.
Yeah.
When he first came on, I was like, oh, all right, this guy's going to be cool. Like, I'm down with him. And then it kind of like, they kept trying to make him funny, have him repeating the same words, basically kind of doing the same joke in a way, just with different scenarios. Yeah. And so I was just like, okay, we got it. In fact, I even heard the woman sitting next to me go, all right, enough with this character. And so I was just kind of like, okay, it's not just me.
Yeah.
I liked him. He was a good character, good addition to it. But, like, he was a little forced for my liking.
No, I totally feel it. And he was really the only humor in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think that has a big factor because if you think about it, movies that are dramas like this and you get just one character who may be that comedy factor, you kind of get tired of him because it's only coming from him.
Yeah.
I think that may be what the case with Bad Ape. And he played a big part in the movie, but
huge.
His comedy factor, it was there and then it wasn't there. So I totally get what you're saying on that point.
Yeah. I mean, he was cool. He was a good addition. I mean, I don't really...
The whole life jacket thing with the beanie and helping, Nova out at first.
Yeah, I mean, he was the one that gave her name.
Yeah.
He handed
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So, I mean, he did play big parts in this movie. It was just kind of like... I could have done with, like, a few humor parts and then just had him be, like, a little serious. Because, for me, the whole trilogy is a serious type of tone. And then you want to throw a little comedy in the end. Just kind of like... I don't know. Just kind of...
Yeah, it is very much a serious trilogy, and I think that we can even say that from the beginning. You have Rise, Dawn, and then War. It's kind of shifted throughout this. Like, if you combine all those movies, you can see one fluid tone. It's shifting from this lightness, kind of this darkness in it. We got the darkness in the very beginning of the movie when, the Colonel's army bombards a section of Caesar's apes, and there's just killing everywhere.
Yeah, that personally was my favorite scene.
It's a dark movie.
It started out, I was like, holy cow, this thing's gonna stay like this the whole entire time. And then it kind of lightened up, but like that opening scene, you were like, whoa, this is really getting serious.
Well, and that kind of has a play into something else that maybe not bothered us, but kind of we wish was a little bit better, was the pacing of the film. And because it started off so hot, it was, the first scene was the attack on Caesar's apes. The second big scene was the Colonel attacking their home, and spoiler, killing Caesar's son and wife, which was, again, the pivotal part of the film.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just slowed down from there. I totally get that. But I get what Matt Reeves was going for at that point. He wanted to break down the characters. He wanted to tell something different. He didn't want to go super huge with the action or any of that kind of stuff. And again, it is a character study, and that's what he's done from the very beginning as far as Dawn of the Planet of the Apes go. But I know the pacing kind of bothered you a little bit. Do you wish it may have kind of stuck to its guns as far as the first couple scenes have gone?
I mean, for me, it was a solid pacing. Like the first, I would say at least 45 minutes of that movie.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, holy cow, this is going to be the pace of this whole entire movie. Like, how are we going to keep it up this way?
Yeah.
And then it started to humanize, kind of like right after he killed the mom,
the family,
and the wife, the family, and then it kind of slowed down from there because then you kind of saw more of the internal struggle of Caesar and kind of almost humanizing him in a way, and it kind of slowed you down.
Yeah.
But it still kept you interested in it. It was just, I think in the beginning it just punched you so strong and it held you for so long, and then it just kind of like dropped off. And to me, the beginning of the movie was more dramatic in action-wise than the ending was. So that was a little bit of a bummer for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the beginning definitely was a little bit more, I guess, hectic than the ending. But I think that was kind of the point, just because they wanted to get to a specific ending, and I think they totally succeeded on getting there.
Yeah.
And I think we can definitely talk about that now. This is probably the biggest spoiler for the film. But Caesar dies. His trilogy is over. His story is over. He succeeded in what he wanted to do. He got the apes to where he wanted to get them. And it looks like they're at the place in the beginning of the original Planet of the Apes franchise, or it's similar anyway. But that's what his goal has been from the very beginning. And it took him about 2.5 movies to do that. And it costed him his life. But like he said at the end of the film, the apes are going to survive and live with him or without him.
Yeah, and Maurice said he'll tell his son the story of Caesar.
Yep. He'll make sure he knows who his father is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, I'm not sure after rewatch the original movie, but I'm pretty sure his son plays a really, really big role in the original movies. Haven't seen him in a long time, but that's another cool little nod there. And now we know what happens to everyone in going forward. There's apes that we met in the originals. They're in this one, characters and whatnot. So, but with that all said, I think we can move on and give this film a score out of 10. I know we just got out of this one, Brian, but what would you give War for Planet of the Apes out of 10?
Right now, I'd probably give it like 8.5, 8.75, not quite 9. Woody Harrelson probably knocked it a whole point down for me.
Good stuff.
Literally a whole entire point. And then just that little bit from Bad Ape just kind of rubbed me.
Like that 0.25.
Yeah, but not enough to really like bother me.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I had no problem with it. It was a flawless movie. The acting in it, everyone. How can you hate against Caesar? First off, so but it's probably about 8.75.
Yeah, no, for me, we both have the same negatives, and I don't think, like I had said earlier, they didn't affect me as much as they probably did you. I think I gave Dawn of the Planet of the Apes a 9.5 out of 10. It was almost a nearly perfect movie for me. I'm going to give War for Planet of the Apes a 9 out of 10. I think it's a damn good movie. It's something that you should definitely go see. It kind of elevates the Planet of the Apes franchise once again. And it gets me.
Ending.
It not only gets me excited because Matt Reeves had just recently said that he has story ideas he would love to tell following Caesar's story, which would be really cool, leading into the possibility of it leading into the original Planet of the Apes. So it doesn't only get me excited for that, but it also gets me excited for Matt Reeves to direct the Batman, because he is one of my favorite directors right now. What he does with film and characters is so good. And although they are scrapping Ben Affleck's script, I think that he is going to bring what he brought to this franchise to that franchise, which is something DC really, really needs.
Needs desperately.
So it's going to be exciting to see what he goes on to next. And I hope he comes back to this franchise, because he brought this, even though Rupert Wyatt did a fantastic job of introducing it, I think he elevated it to something completely new and different and brought the Planet of the Apes franchise to something that it never was before. So yeah, I'm super excited to see what comes next. I'm super excited to watch this film again at some point. If you have not seen it and you watch this, you're brave, but go see this film. It is phenomenal. Before we get out of here, man, any last thoughts on War of the Planet of the Apes, and let them know where they can find you online?
You can find me at TG Scoops on Instagram and Twitter. But no, I mean, it's definite movie you want to see this year. For sure.
Yeah, so you can find me, Jake Berlin, at Twitter and Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake. Make sure you check out apocalypsemovies.com. We got all kinds of cool articles up there. I'm sure Gio or Brian might have a written review up there at some point. Apocalypse Movies on YouTube, of course, with all kinds of cool things here. Share, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think of War for Planet of the Apes. Let's have a conversation about it. The two of us are always down to talk this film because we liked it so much. It's so good. Go check it out as soon as possible. It definitely deserves that. So thank you for joining us, and until next time, see you later.